And welcome to Impact Houston Live. Issues, concern, what's new? Let's talk about it.
And good afternoon. Happy Juneteenth and also happy Father's Day. Welcome to the Impact Houston Live podcast. I am one of the co-hosts of Impact Houston Live, which you can hear every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. until 9 on the Choice 90.9 KTSU. Now, it's time for me to introduce the smartest one of the group, and that would be Chris Johnson.
That is not me. Hello, Miss Donna, how are you? And hello to our audience here with us on this evening. We're here in Avenida, Houston, as you said, live music going on, and a really, really exciting time. Of course, this is our Juneteenth celebration, and we are excited about everything that we have coming up. But we're going to really get into our Caregivers series, Ms. Donna.
Yes, KTSU is very proud to partner in this Caregiving series, and I had the distinct pleasure of looking at the documentary before it aired, and I'm going to give you all of that information later. And it really grabbed my heart, because I had no idea what went into caregiving. Now, my mother's 92, and my sister is a critical care nurse. So she lives with my mother lives with my sister, and my sister handles that. But you, Chris.
Yes.
You're a caregiver for your mother.
Absolutely, absolutely, along with family members, and so. Yep, and really a part of a long line of caregiving, right?
Right.
My mother took care of my grandmother and my aunt and my great-grandmother, and my grandmother took care of her mother. So it's just one of those things in our family that's almost like a tradition. We just pass it down.
So at this time, we're going to introduce. Most of y'all know what AARP is, and a lot of you don't. For those of us who know what AARP is, look at all them hands. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yay! I'm going to introduce our friend Eddie Orem from AARP. How are you, Eddie?
Very well, and good afternoon to you, and happy Juneteenth to everyone out there as well.
Thank you. We're very delighted to have you. So as we dive into the subject of caregiving, how does caregiving align with AARP's overall mission to support Americans over 50? Because it's a lot of us.
It is a lot of us, and let me say that we're also finding that ARP works with individuals before they're 50 as well. We're actually working with middle school students. But ARP aligning with caregiving, we have a national priority to provide care to our memberships, particularly if you're getting older in that segment. You will need somebody to care for you. In fact, we believe that there are 4 types of people. Either you are a caregiver, you have been a caregiver, or you are receiving care from someone else. We want to make sure that, in fact, Houston ARP is involved in a national project with 4 other states to make sure that we begin to set projects and significant symbols for caring for all of our lovers.
It's like, I don't know if it's the age, because I'm young. I don't know, but y'all heard me say I'm young. Okay, good.
We did.
Because I'm young, but this caregiving is really a big deal. Did it just become a big deal?
No, in our neighborhoods, it's always been. We didn't know the word caregiving, but we always cared for our families. Sure. And what ARP did for me, I had the culture, I had the passion, I didn't have the skills and the knowledge. And ARP brought that to my home.
Yeah. Eddie, what are some of the biggest challenges that are facing AARP members in terms of caregiving?
I think we always have the challenge of, number one, how do you begin that conversation? Particularly when we have a loved one who's not prepared to say, I'm diminishing.
Sure.
It may not be you. We talk about the conversation. How do you develop that team of people?
Sure.
You don't want to complicate the process and have people who have complicated relationships on your team. You have family members who need to be involved and informed, but maybe not closely on the team. And how do you, number one, primarily take care of yourself? We spend so much time taking care of those that we love, we don't really stop to think about our health. In fact, once I went to the doctor, and I am a caregiver for my 93-year-old mother and my 91-year-old aunt who has Alzheimer's, and I moved into my home. So I'm a full-time caregiver and actually had to leave a job to make sure I took care of the two important ladies in my life.
Eddie, that's beautiful. I commend you. Where do you have, now this is the thing, where do you find time for you?
You know, I was doing a ARP presentation one time and talking about the parts to taking care of yourself, and I realized that everything I was saying I was not doing.
Wow.
So I actually began to focus more on myself. ARP allows you to, we have Monday mindful moments where we're taught how to breathe and how to slow it down, make sure our blood pressure is okay. I actually sought out a therapist because I wanted to be a better caregiver for my mom and my aunt. And I realized that if I was exhausted, if my eyes were rolling or my voice was tense, then they were feeling that. So I had to go back and make sure I was doing my best to service them. Yeah. And I make sure I take care of myself every day. In fact, this is probably one of my few social activities.
Wow. Yeah.
Eddie, what specific resources does AARP offer caretakers? Because, you know, in the area of skills, personal knowledge, a lot of times, to your point, when you're entering into this space, you don't have any of that. And so what are the type of resources that you all offer?
One of the first things that everybody should know is to go on to aarp.org. You can see different types of presentations, sure. Caring for loved ones, looking at fraud, looking at respite care. We advocate for legislative changes. I was in Washington, D.C. this week, making sure that funds were put back into NIH. Once you go on our website, fraud, abuse, understanding complicated situations, making sure that we have the respite care, as I mentioned earlier, but finances, understanding the difference between Medicare, Medicaid, because our loved ones are going to have different insurance necessary items to follow.
You know, as we dig deep into this thing about caregiving, we're realizing that a lot of young people are also being involved in caregiving. Can you expound on that?
Yes, in fact, at our Men Who Care conference on June the 28th, we will actually have a high school student, female, presenting her project. She is actually being raised by her grandmother, in part. And one day she said, you know, Grandma, I'm going to be your nurse tomorrow. And it occurred to me, you probably will be much sooner than I became a caregiver.
Right.
So we're actually reaching down into high schools, helping young adolescents to understand what caregiving is. And even in many of our neighborhoods, we don't have the terminology. So we're actually teaching adolescents how Alzheimer's, how dementia looks, so they can say, well, Mom, maybe we need to get an assessment. Maybe Uncle Eddie's not just strange. Maybe he's sick.
Now, Eddie, I want you to really stay at that point when we talk about Alzheimer's and dementia, because when we were talking offline, you gave a statistic about a high percentage of caregivers that are giving care for dementia, Alzheimer's. Can you talk about the nuanced difference in terms of Alzheimer's, dementia, and how that correlates with caregiving?
That's an excellent question, Chris, because when I began this journey, I didn't know the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. I volunteer also for the Alzheimer's Association, as well as I do ARP. And I realized that dementia is that umbrella. It's just like if I were to say, I have cancer. Your first question is going to be, what type of cancer do you have?
Sure.
Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. We have 72% of the people with dementia actually have Alzheimer's. In our neighborhood, so many times, we have vascular dementia. That's caused by high blood pressure, diabetes, or strokes. Anything that affects the blood flow to the brain can cause us to go through those changes.
Wow.
I want to bring Miss Ronnie Jackson into the conversation. And Chris, you want to go just scan her bio?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Well, originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, Ronnie made Houston her permanent home 25 years ago. When she isn't helping patients, she loves cooking her favorite New Orleans recipes and spending time with her husband, children, family, and friends. She also enjoys traveling, learning about new cultures, gardening, and crafting. We would like to welcome to Impact Houston Live a dedicated family nurse practitioner, Ronnie Jackson. Ronnie, how are you?
Hello, I'm great. I'm great. Thank you. Thank you all for having me here. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. I'm honored to be here to be able to speak as a guest.
Absolutely, absolutely. So can you share with us what is nurse practitioning and how does that interplay with caregiving?
Sure. As a nurse practitioner, I initially started off as a registered nurse and then advanced my skills and profession to be able to practice as an advanced level to bridge the gap because we had a shortage of medical providers that would be able, medical doctors, to be able to provide the primary care. So when moving forward, there was limited access to health care. So as an advanced provider, I'm able to do primary care as under the guidance of a medical doctor and provide that care for your loved ones in the primary care setting.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Ronnie, and there are a lot of these. Wait till you see this question. What are some of the misconceptions society has about who caregivers are, what they do, and especially in the Black community?
I believe the misconception is that they think that caregivers only should be in a professional setting. It actually starts in the home. It starts with you all as the family members and initially seeing that I'm caring for my loved one initially if I'm even like cooking dinner or going over providing medications, filling up the pill box. So it starts at a lower level. It starts with our aunties, our grandmothers, with the community, with the church members. At one point in time, you used to have a wellness community within the church that used to go visit the sick and shed-in. So it starts there. So the misconception is that it starts only when I go see my doctor or I have to go to a hospital or I have to go to a nursing home. It starts in the community.
I'm so glad I get a chance to ask this question. How do Black families pass down knowledge about caregiving, healing, and nurturing across generations?
Historically, it's been passed down through observation and learning through generations. We learned from Big Mama.
Yeah.
We learned from our aunties. So it was a village.
Yeah.
And initially, Black people didn't go to the doctor. We didn't have access. So we had to go to our medical healers, the one who would make medicine to help us feel good because it wasn't trusted by like medical professions. So it started there, and then it passed on to, hey, I'm gonna pass these remedies on. You can make your elixirs for a cold and, just vitamins and eating healthy and preventive care at the level of your family.
And nurse practitioner, Ronnie, you are so right, because one of my fondest memories growing up was watching my then 80-plus-year-old grandmother take care of my 90-plus-year-old aunt.
Right.
And she wouldn't put her in a living facility. Now, looking back on it, I kind of, but that just was the generation she was from. And
Right.
So what you're saying is so familiar.
Let me ask that question to both of you. Do you see us getting back to that? Because back then, as Black people, we took care of our families. Do you see us getting back there?
I really can see us getting back to that because we're having so much new information that's coming out now. We also are learning what to do when we didn't know before. And caregiving is something that, as Nurse Ronnie said, if you're just baking a cake and bringing it by the house, that's caregiving. Mowing someone's lawn, picking up their groceries. So I do see us doing more in the homes, particularly because of the expense. It's becoming so expensive that it's much easier to provide the resources to make sure that we can keep our loved ones at home and have other providers to come to the home to assist us, like a nurse practitioner.
And to add to that, in a clinical setting, I see where it is starting to occur more often. So when they come see me, I try to make sure I offer community resources that they can reach out to. At Village Medical, we're a value-based clinic. So we offer the care for the whole patient. We offer social workers. Social workers is very important because they put you into those community and government Medicare, Medicaid services that can allow you to have, like you said, respite care, allow you to be able to explore hospice
Sure.
in case there's an end-stage process and needing that extra care in the home.
Sure.
Also, Department of Aging and Disability, where your caregiver may be able to have someone to come in to bridge the gap for you to be able to, provide services while you're at work and your loved one is cared for. It's been giving that information where you want to take care of your caregiver, and that's great where AARP comes in, because we're not knowledgeable what our resources are to help us do that.
Right.
Ronnie, what's one lesson about caregiving you've learned that you think every person, especially black folks, should hear today?
It's okay to take care of yourself.
Wow.
Girl!
Wow.
Say that again, Ronnie.
Wow.
Say that again.
It's okay to take care of yourself. What I've observed is you tend to put yourself on the back burner because you have your mom, you have your kids, you have your house, you have your husband, you have your work, and all those things takes precedence, and you're not doing self-care, and your health deteriorates and causing chronic conditions.
Did you hear that, Chris Johnson?
I heard that.
Did you listen
You hear
to
crickets
it?
over here.
Chris
There's no
Johnson?
follow-up question or comment. Would you like to add to that, Brother Orr?
Certainly, I would. I think we also need to make sure that we forgive ourselves when we've had a bad day, because so many times I look in my personal situation, and it becomes a situation about bringing humanity back to your loved one. When
Yes.
my aunt is not feeling that she's having a good day,
Yes.
a hug from me, telling her how much I love her, telling her how much I'm pleased that she's there with me, helps her to still feel good about herself.
Yes.
Right.
Wow. Wow. How can we honor the spirit of Juneteenth through the way we show up for our loved ones and ourselves as caregivers?
Juneteenth is about culture. It's about family, and caregiving is so much about culture. Who we love, how we love them, how do we take care of them, and realizing, going back to Nurse Ronnie, taking care of yourself is so important because there are days that we don't have good days. Every other day is an opportunity to be a better caregiver. Our culture is important to us because we've always had to take care of ourselves. And being family, understanding family, you might know something about your loved one that someone else may not know. Normally, people do not know if my aunt is having a bad day because I know her, I've been with her, I know when something's off. So we know them, so we can take care of them.
I would like to add to that also is freedom, liberation. It's that we travel the path, of course, to get here. Now we have more community resources. We have more knowledge that's at our fingertips. And we have health insurance. And you pay for health insurance, but you don't go to the doctor. So taking care of yourself, taking care of your overall health, and accessing your benefits is honoring what our ancestors have sacrificed for us to be here. I'm a sacrifice to be here as a medical profession to be able to provide the education. They've already paved the way, and now I'm actually here to be that barrier to give that knowledge on how to help you take care of you take care of your family members.
I think it's also called by passing the baton.
Yes.
Right.
We must always know that the baton was passed to us when we were younger. My
Yes.
aunt once said to me that when she helped me out in a high school situation, she said, someday you'll pass the baton to me, and I'll pass it back to you.
Yes.
And when I approached her about moving to my home, I said, I think it's time for me to take that baton so we can do this thing together with this Alzheimer's.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Stay with us on Impact Houston Live. So, Chris, what we got coming up next?
So we are joined by Keith V. Taylor. He is a veteran specialist and senior community liaison for the Harris County Area Agency on Aging in the City of Houston's Health Department. In this position, Keith is responsible for case management for veterans enrolled in the Veterans Directed Care Program, and he has served in this capacity since January 2016. In terms of his personal life, Keith is a devout Christian and has 3 children and is married to his wife, Marjorie. Did I get it right?
You got it.
Marjorie, who is a retired deputy and bailiff with the Harris County Sheriff's Office. We want to welcome to Impact Houston Live, Keith Taylor. Hey, Brother Keith, how are you, man?
Oh, well, thank you so much, Chris. I'm so glad to be here. And I just first want to say happy Juneteenth for everyone. And this Father's Day weekend, let's give a shout out to all the fathers.
Amen
Happy
for
Father's
the
Day.
Here
fathers.
you go, brother.
Happy Father's Day. I love fathers.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
So let me first tell you about the programs that we have with the Harris County Area Agency on Aging. We have the Caregiver Support Program, and this program is designed to give the caregivers a break from caregiving duties. And we can provide services through our contractors that go to the home to help with activities that we call in the social work business, activities of daily living. These are things like bathing, dressing, personal grooming, like brushing our teeth, for example, toileting, those kinds of things. We'll have an agency to come into the home for a few hours a day, several times a week, to kind of give that caregiver a break so that that caregiver can take the time to take care of themselves so that they can continue long-term caregiving.
Now, Keith, I want you to talk about the importance of that type of service, because I was talking with Brother Orem before the show, and when you start talking about things like personal grooming, bathing, personal hygiene, those are very daunting tasks. Talk about the importance of that service and how it gives relief specifically for caregivers, much needed relief.
Yes, it gives them that, as you mentioned, Chris, some much needed relief, because caregiving is a tough duty,
Right.
tough job.
Right.
And by having our contractors to go out and relieve the caregivers of some of that burden, that will allow them to take care of themselves. I tell all my clients, I kind of think of it much like a relay team in track, like a
Right.
400-meter relay. When those caregivers come to the home to assume the caregiving duties, that's that time for the caregiver to go to the doctor, to go to the gym to get some exercise, do some things to kind of relieve the stress from caregiving. Yeah. And we believe that by doing that, that will sustain them in terms of being long-term caregivers for their family members.
Now, I know that's one aspect of the caregiver support that you all provide. Can you
Yes.
talk about other aspects of caregiver support that you also provide as well?
Sure. The other things that we do is we have adult daycare, for example. And adult daycare is for our clients that have Alzheimer's or dementia. I think we just talked about that a little earlier.
Right.
And we can arrange for those services to be paid for. And basically, when a caregiver needs to drop their loved one off to one of our contractors that provides that service during the day, it's kind of like daycare, but in this case, it's adult care for someone specifically with Alzheimer's or dementia. They can drop them off at the beginning of the day, go to work, do what they have to do, and then they can pick them up at the close of business. And we can do that for 3 to 4 times a week.
Wow. And brother, that is so needed, because if you work during the day, one of the biggest laments that I hear from people is, I don't really have a caregiver I can bring in that I would trust with my mom or trust with my dad or trust with my child. And so the fact that the county through the City of Houston's Health Department offers that type of service,
Right.
that's phenomenal.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to appear on your show today, so that we could spread the word, because there are resources available, but we don't do a good enough job of making sure that people know that these services are available, because it's important for caregivers to know that you're not by yourself.
Yeah.
There are resources in the community that are available to help you with that, and I would encourage people to give us a call at 832-393-4301. That's our intake number, and we can take their information and then get them into our gateway so that we can provide the services for their loved one. They need to be 60 or older and live in Harris County, and we can give them a hand.
Repeat that one more time.
That number again is 832-393-4301. And that is the intake number for the Harris County Area Agency on Aging, and that is the gateway for our services.
Now let's talk about the care coordination program. Can you give us a few details on that? What is the care coordination program, and how can Harris County and City of Houston residents access it?
Sure. For the care coordination program, that's for seniors who live alone. Again, all of our clients need to be 60 or older and live in Harris County. And if those seniors who live alone need the same kind of caregiving services I mentioned, bathing, dressing, personal grooming, toileting, we can provide that service through for seniors who live by themselves. We also have, if I can add for a moment, the emergency response system. That's that life alert button that if you fall and you can't get up.
Sure.
We have that service available too for seniors who live alone, who have mobility issues. So if they have an accident, all they have to do is press that button, and then that will notify emergency responders to come to their home to help them out.
Now, is there an income requirement on these services?
I'm glad you asked that question. There is no income requirement for it. Now, I will say that the services are not long-term. We can do it for 90 days, sometimes for a few months older, on a longer on a case-by-case basis. It's not a long-term solution, but it's designed to be a temporary solution to kind of give the seniors and the caregivers who need this service a break so that they can kind of determine what their long-term answer will be.
So how often can they use that? Okay, you said it's not a long term.
Correct.
You said 90 days. So when my 90 days up, do I have to wait for another year?
Well, sometimes we can give an extension on a case-by-case basis. A lot of that depends on what our funding looks like and how many people are in our queue, if you will, to get the services, because we want to try to make sure we serve as many citizens as possible. So we have to kind of rotate people off it after so long so that we can get others on board. But the state of Texas, through the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, they do have a long-term program for similar things that I'm talking about, for caregiver support, care coordination. But that one is income dependent.
Right.
So you have to qualify for Medicaid, and you know that income level is pretty low to get that. So that one is income restricted or limited. That one is the one that's long-term.
One of the things I was really excited about in this segment was going to be the interplay between yourself and Brother Eric. Brother Eric, when you hear about some of these services that are being offered by the Harris County Office on Aging, what comes to mind?
Well, first of all, we do a lot of partnering with the what we call AAA organization, to where, in fact, where Men Who Care conference, we will actually have AAA present there. Our aim at ARP is to actually make sure that we serve as a resource. We want to make sure that every opportunity that someone has to live their best life as they age will do, from exercise classes, from cooking classes, from gardening. So we work hand in hand and refer several of our membership and volunteers to the AAA services.
Sure. Keith, on a personal note, can you share with us a story where you saw these services actually make the difference between, in
people's lives?
Yep.
Well, I can tell you, I've actually received some letters from some of my clients. I'll tell you one story real quickly. One of my clients was a World War II Army veteran. The gentleman was in his 90s, as a matter of fact. And he was blind, and he was in a wheelchair and had a number of disabilities. We were able to provide that veteran with the in-home services that he needed, so that his wife would not be overwhelmed with caregiving services herself, because she was a senior citizen as well. So we were able to come in, give that veteran the care that he needed, so that he could get his bath regularly, so that someone would be there to help him with the toileting, the cooking, cleaning, and that made a tremendous difference in his life. And that's something that I'm very proud to have been a part of, because our whole team is compassionate. We care about people, which is why we're in this business. And to see them get the services that the veterans need and that our senior citizens need, that allows them to stay in their homes so that they don't have to be prematurely institutionalized. And then if I can add one last plug for you, another program that we have that is near and dear to my heart is the Veterans Directed Care Program.
Yes.
And I'm a veteran myself. I think you saw my bio.
Yep.
I served in the Navy. But that program is for veterans who are disabled, who have a disability where they can't take care of themselves. Well, under this program, which is a unique partnership that we have with the VA, we are able to set up a program for them so that they can actually hire their own providers.
Wow.
Based on their disability case mix. The VA provides a pot of money, and they can hire a friend, a neighbor, a family member, a qualified person who can do some of those caregiving services that I mentioned. And that's a permanent service that is not dependent on the veteran's income. It's based on their service-connected disability or their need.
That is so nice. I have to say this about both of you. You gentlemen are so passionate about what it is that you do.
Yes.
So I'm listening to the passion that comes out of you, Keith, and you, Eddie. And I just want to know, how long have you been doing what you've been doing, Keith?
Well, I've been doing this work since 2016, January of 2016. Wow. So it's been about 8 years now.
Okay.
But I'll tell you one reason why I like this line of work, Donna, because it's kind of like ministry work to me.
Absolutely.
It's a chance to help people in their time of need.
Yes.
And when you see that you've made a difference in people's lives, that is so personally rewarding to me.
It is very.
As an individual and as a professional.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So all of us share that same spirit. And I think our clients see that when we meet them, go to their homes, talk to them on the phone about the challenges that they're going through.
Right.
And to help them overcome those challenges, that makes us feel real good.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. And you, Eddie?
Let me say that I was simply brought up this way.
Come on, Eddie.
My father was a mentor for the community, for the family. He was a county extension agent, and basically where he went, I followed. And I remember one particular case when my grandmother was ill. It was assumed that my aunt that I am now taking care of should be the caregiver. We didn't know that word back in those days. And my father intentionally set me down and explained the role that a man has with his family and his community. And in fact, I'd like to say that I care for my father's wife and his sister because he would do that for me.
Wow. That's beautiful. I want to take this opportunity to thank you both. It's been an incredible conversation on caregiving. And we have one more special guest coming up. We're going to take a quick break and stay with us so you'll be able to see our special guest.